Back in 1854, this critique of Charles Dickens appeared in the patrician North British Review. The form of publication of Mr. Dickens' works must be attended with bad consequences. The reading of a novel is not now the undertaking it once was, a thing to be done occasionally on holiday and almost by stealth. It throws us into a state of unreal excitement, a trance, a dream, which we should be allowed to dream out and then be sent back to the atmosphere of reality again, cured by our brief surfeit of the desire to indulge again soon in the same delirium of feverish interest. But now our dreams are mingled with our daily business. What this guy was upset about, bad enough that we have novels, right, that you can sit down and read and lose yourself in. Now, when this was written, novels were quite new. You know, I think Defoe had written Robinson Crusoe maybe 300 years before that. But what this guy's upset about, Dickens was responding to society around him that had changed drastically. We're in the midst of the industrial age. The working class, the poor, the middle class is developing in cities like never before, and something else is happening, literacy. And the human imagination is on fire and it's hungry. And Dickens is one of those seminal people, that recognized that and said, instead of just dropping a great big novel out there, which most of these folks can't afford, I want to write a chapter at a time. The serial novel, and put it out on cheap paper, and people ate it up. Much to the chagrin of the patrician class. They thought this was horrible. Look at all these people reading and imagining. What will the world come to? Well, I got to thinking about that with this gospel lesson, because what I hear in this gospel lesson, the same thing's going on. There's a seminal change in society. The foundations are being shaken. And Jesus, through Matthew, is saying, okay, the scribes and the Pharisees, they sit on Moses' seat, so what they're teaching is valid. Pay attention to that. Don't do as they do, though, because they don't get it. They just don't get it. Got those broad phylacteries, love those long prayer robes and tassels, love the big seats at the state banquets, but they don't get the change that's happening. And the change that was happening in that day is much the same that's going on now, and why there's so much unrest in the world, I believe. I'll give you an example. The three major networks. Some of you are old enough to remember when we only had three networks. Right? NBC, ABC, CBS. If they started recording from the day of their inception to right now, 24/7, they would have recorded 1.5 million hours of content. In the past 6 months, people around this planet uploaded that much content to YouTube. See, we're at the same place. The human imagination is out there, and it wants to be engaged, and it wants to be collaborative. The old model of sitting on the throne of Moses and saying, this is what you're going to do, you little lay people out there, is met with things coming back on blogs and in Twitter and on YouTube about, well, I heard this off of Moses' seat, but I'm not sure if that's the way it really should be. It's a collaborative world now. And I think Matthew was pointing towards that. You're all students. You have one instructor. You hear that instructor. You're all the same. The playing field is level. Now, what's important for Christians, you know, here I am. I'm sitting on not Peter's seat, but sitting in Jesus' seat as a priest, so to speak. And do as I say, not as I do. I hope not. I hope I live the faith that I'm entrusted with. I think what's important for us as Christians is how do we behave in this collaborative world. Have you read the comments that follow articles online? You know, and even on YouTube, I've heard the complaint, I can't let my kids watch YouTube because somebody will make a comment right after that, and then I'll be, Daddy, what does mean? You know? So how do we behave with each other in this collaborative world? It says it right there in the gospel. Those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who are humble will be exalted. We are to do it with Christian humility. That doesn't mean being less than everybody else or being a doormat for people. In my understanding, it simply means being the person God created you to be. Being the person God called me to be. Being true to that person. And understanding that living the truth and the genuine love of God in the midst of all this collaboration can be a beacon and can be a light.